So I thought it would be a little bit more interesting if I filmed an IVF update with some guests. So this is Jack. This is Violet. This is Dash. I have started the process. I'm in the middle of the process. First off, I'll just give you a general idea of what it's taken. I had to go off of testosterone for at least a month before starting. I ended up not being able to schedule things and then getting COVID, and so I was off of it for 3 months before starting. That was interesting. I learned that I'm mostly okay. Going back to my sort of the hormones my body produces naturally. Sort of the hormonal cycle was really challenging for me, emotionally mostly. I upped my therapy sessions, and it was just helpful to have the perspective of like, this isn't permanent. This is just a few months. I can get through it and it'll be okay. And it was mostly okay. So I've been off of the testosterone for a few months, and then I had a baseline ultrasound, and they looked at my ovaries and they saw, it was really cool. I got to see it on the big screen. They counted follicles, and follicles are sort of fluid-filled sacs that the eggs develop in. And usually, if you're having a normal menstrual cycle, one follicle will mature and produce a mature egg that then is ovulated, and if it's fertilized, it can become an embryo. So they counted 10, maybe 11 follicles in my baseline ultrasound, which is low average, which is better than I was expecting. I was expecting low. Then I started my medications, of which there are many. So I'll show you, there's gonna be a lot of medication talk and a lot of injection talk. The medications I started in order: Gonal, Gonal RFF, Folitropin. I dial the thing, it's a preloaded needle, and you just punch it subcutaneously into the belly. I did that every morning. And then Menopur, also subcutaneously, but you have to mix it. It's like a powder and a liquid. And then I injected that subcutaneously as well every evening. And then every day I took Letrozole, and that's an estrogen blocker, and they prescribed it to me because I was concerned about some of the side effects from the IVF medications, mostly the mood side effects. And then after a couple of weeks, once the follicles started getting big enough, I started taking Ganirelix, and it also goes by another couple of names. But basically what this does is it prevents ovulation, so it stops you from ovulating too early. And that one you have to do every 24 hours exactly. So I've got a timer in my phone that goes off every day. I have to do that. So 3 injections a day. In the belly here, you just, you take some skin and you inject. It's not a big needle. It's not like the intramuscular needles. So it wasn't a big deal, but some of the thicker ones, and once you start doing it, 3 a day adds up. I'm getting bruised, and I look like a pincushion. So during this time, I've been going every day, basically. I have something to do, medical related. So first thing in the morning, usually before work, I drive either to the lab or to an ultrasound appointment. They alternate because I have an ultrasound appointment basically every other day. And before the ultrasound, I need to get my blood drawn to measure my estrogen and progesterone levels. So now 2 weeks into the process, they've been monitoring me, doing ultrasounds every other day, and 6 big follicles is what they're counting in my ovaries now, which is low average. It's on the low side of typical, but again, 6 is good, You only really need 1 at the end of the day. But at every stage, it sort of gets whittled down. So, I started with 10 or 11, down to 6. When they extract, maybe I'll look at up to 6. And then out of those, not all of them will likely be of good quality. And then of those, not all of them might survive the freezing process. When I first had my initial consult with the doctor about the whole process, she said they're hoping to get 2 at the end of this. That's probably around what to expect, and 2 is 1 more than I need. So, oh, now that the follicles are big enough, they had to measure them every time I went in, and they were reaching for a target of, I think, 18 or 19 millimeters. Now that they're big enough, they've scheduled my egg retrieval date, which is going to be in 2 days. So I had my last ultrasound today, and today I took my last Ganirelix, that's to prevent ovulation, and then this evening I'm going to take 2 new drugs. They're both also subcutaneous injections. This, which is HCG, and then this, which is Leuprolide or Lupron. And I should have read up on what they do before I started talking about it, but basically they trigger ovulation, I guess, or they make sure the eggs are mature in there. My procedure is 36 hours from when I take these medications. I have to drive an hour south to be there for 7 in the morning, so it's going to be an early day. And the procedure itself will only take about 30 minutes, they're expecting, and then about an hour to recover because it's general anesthesia. Yeah, it's gonna be an all-day thing, and then I have to recover at home, sort of all day. But then I should be good to go back to work and whatever the next day. And I should know by the next day, I think, how many were successfully frozen, how many looked normal. The fact that I'm sort of doing this preemptively makes it a lot easier for me than for people that have gone through a lot of infertility and for who it's really emotionally charged. Like for me, you know, if it doesn't work, there's other avenues for me that are possible. I'm still young, so they're expecting the eggs to be of good quality. I'm excited. I'm hoping it goes well and it's successful, and they get as many as possible. And we'll see what I end up doing. Hello! I did it! So the process is finished. The egg retrieval process is done. They got 6 mature eggs frozen and in the bank for whenever I might need them. Gus wants to celebrate with us. The retrieval process was a little bit bigger of a deal than I thought it was going to be. I got there an hour early for all the setup and whatever. I had to talk to all the various people that were going to be in there and get my IV whatever, and then I went under anesthesia, and they did the retrieval extraction procedure, which only took maybe half an hour, and then I recovered for a little bit, and then I got to go home. I was kind of out of it for the rest of the day. The next 24 hours was basically just in bed, really sleepy. A little bit of pain, a little bit of spotting, like, I had definitely undergone something. My main takeaway from this whole thing was that my mood and my mental health are highly dependent on my hormone levels. It was really, really clear once my estrogen levels got really high, because I could watch them on the chart in real time because I was getting my blood drawn every other day, that my mood was getting really wacky. I was doing a lot of crying. I was having a lot of mood swings. I was overreacting to things. It was really interesting to watch that. And then once the procedure was over, I was able to get back on my testosterone. It was like, oh, I feel much more myself in my body and in my mind. So it was very affirming in that way. It was hard to go through at the time, but it was really worth it. As far as next steps, I don't have any plans for what to do with the eggs that are now in the freezer. My original plan was to put them away and then get my bottom surgery done and use a surrogate down the line. However, surrogacy is very expensive, and it seems a little bit of a waste of a perfectly functioning uterus to not carry myself. I think the main issue I have in thinking about this is more the societal aspect of like, how are people gonna react to me as a pregnant man potentially, rather than I don't think I can handle it in my body and in myself for gender reasons. Like, I think having had this experience of being off my testosterone and being on all of these hormones, I think I can handle it, physically and mentally. Certainly not fun, but it's not supposed to be. It's more dealing with medical professionals, dealing with people in the world, but thankfully, my experience overall with the IVF was really positive. All the medical professionals I interacted with were great. Super, super affirming, gender affirming, and chill, and I didn't have to sort of go out of my way to advocate for myself or anything like that. So I'm really happy with the experience overall. Thinking about potentially carrying a pregnancy is something I'm not totally finished thinking about. I'm not super out in real life, in my day-to-day. It's a privilege and a choice of mine, to sort of go about the world, without people necessarily knowing my trans history, and it's more comfortable to me like that, to be able to disclose by choice when I feel safe with somebody. So being visibly pregnant at some point, I would lose that privilege, and I'm not sure how well I'd be able to handle it. It's something to think about down the line. I've come to no decisions about it, and I'm okay putting it off for a number of years, and I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to do so. I've got these eggs in storage, and I don't have to worry about them for a while until I'm totally ready. Overall, I'm really glad I did it. Plans for next steps are up in the air, but I'm in no rush. So yeah, I hope you all are enjoying accompanying me on this journey, and I hope people get something out of it in the future, and I hope I get something out of it maybe in the future. So yeah, all in all, very exciting, and we'll see how it goes.